The following video is from a deputy named Blake, and he's sharing his paranormal experience that he had with a call. And from beginning to end, the story is weird, but it leaves you wondering, is it mental health, or did these people really see and experience something we'll never truly understand? Take a look, listen to what he has to say, and comment below.
This is probably without question the spookiest call I've ever been on in my law enforcement career, and I hope it never gets topped. But anyhow, it was several years ago. I was on the overnight shift. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was around Halloween time, so it's already got that spooky season feel. This elderly gentleman who lived out in the country, he drove to town for whatever reason and went to this 24/7 gas station, asked the clerk if he could use the phone to call 911. The clerk, of course, said yes. He calls 911 and tells dispatch something along the lines of like, my wife's missing or she's been kidnapped or something, yada, yada, yada. And to have the officer meet me at our residence. So I go to the residence, and as I pull up and I get out, I don't see any red flags, if you will. Normally in a situation like this, you would see or hear some commotion. You would have something standing out to you. I'm not getting that. It looks very calm, very quaint. I don't know what I'm really walking into at this point. I have terrible officer awareness. I walk up the driveway and I pass his truck, and he hops out of the truck behind me, and as I turn around, he's got a handgun. And he's extremely agitated and upset and emotional at the fact that his wife is missing or kidnapped or whatever it was. So after a few minutes of coaxing the handgun from him and make it safe, I put it on the hood of his truck. I'm like, okay, talk to me, what's going on? And he says, okay, follow me to the house. So I follow him to the house, and as he gets to the door, he says, and I will never forget this, he says, do you believe in God? And I said, yes, I do. And he says, good. And that means you believe in the devil. And I'm like, what? So he opens the door. He says, forgive me for all the candles. He says, that's the only way we can keep it out or something like that. And there's no candles, but yet he's tiptoeing through the living room like he doesn't want to step over these mysterious candles. There's no candles. So as I'm walking in the living room and all the furniture's gone, it's just an empty room. Like, I don't know if they're moving or they just moved in. It's just completely bare and empty. Although at every window around the home, I see a rifle or a shotgun, and I see spent shell casings and bullet casings. And I'm like, hey, bro, what's up with this? And he said, oh, I've been shooting out at these demons outside all night, trying to keep them out from coming in the house. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we're not going to have that right now. So he lets me make all of his firearms safe, and talking to him, trying to figure out where his wife may be. And then we're in this cabin-esque home, and there's a loft, and I see above us his elderly wife comes to the edge of the loft, and she's wearing this white, like, robe, you know, like something Ebenezer Scrooge would wear. A little creepy looking, you know, and she's just standing there staring down at us. And I'm like, all right, she seems sensible. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to talk to her, because obviously he's the issue, and we need to get him some mental health treatment. So I'm like, hey, I found her. And he's like, oh, that's great news. That's great news. You know, he's all excited. He's calmed down now. He's like, she's safe. She's sound. Good to go. So I'm like, we should be in and out in 5 minutes. So as I walk up the steps, I go up there and I talk to her, and I'm like, hey, ma'am, your husband's having some mental health issues. And she's like, I know. And she's like, I don't know what to do with him. I'm like, I get it. You know, boys will be boys, but I'm going to have to take him to the hospital. And I'm like, I'm going to probably need you to help me out and, you know, convince him to go with me. And I think we're on the same page. And all of a sudden she says, am I in trouble? And I'm like, no. Why would you be in trouble? And she's like, well, I'm curious. And I'm like, well, he's not in any trouble either. But why did you say, are you in trouble? Like, there's something not right about how she said it. And she said, well, because I fed it. I'm like, fed what? She's like, I was feeding the devil babies. And I'm like, what? Like, I get it. He's having a mental health issue, but it's very rare, if not impossible, in my opinion, to have two people having both the same mental health issues. And I'm like, run that back again. And she said, I stole babies, and the only way I could keep the devil happy and away from us, because he broke into the home, was to throw them over the loft, because I'm only safe when I'm up here, elevated, and the devil's down there. I throw the babies over the loft or the balcony, and the devil feeds them. Or I feed the devil. But the problem is he won't leave me alone now. He's attached to me, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go back down and talk to your husband. He's the more sensible one. I'm like, I'm never sleeping again. So I go down the steps. I talk to the husband. I'm like, bro, both you and your wife are going to have to take a trip with me to the hospital. And he is now freaking out. He's trying to run outside. I don't know why. I'm trying to wheel him in. I'm like, dude, I don't want you to go out there. It's pitch black. It's the middle of the night. Like, what is it out there that you need to do? And he's like, I need to get the devil away. I need to get the devil away from my house. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, the devil is throwing the babies into the fire. And I'm like, what? And he said the demons are dancing around the fire, and the devil is in the middle, and he's throwing the babies in the fire, and it's making the fire bigger, and I have to go put out the fire. And I'm like, bro, come back to reality. There is nothing out there. I am looking, and it is pitch black out there. And he's like, oh, you messed up. He's like, you just pissed them off. They're all looking at you now. And he's like, oh, they're running over here. They're running over here. And I'm like, well, shut the shades. Like, I shut the shades, and I'm like, now I'm wigging out. And I'm like, all right, look, we need to come back to reality. Luckily at that time, another deputy shows up. The ambulance shows up. We both convince them to go to the hospital and get some mental health treatment. They do the same thing at the hospital. The doctor's like, I'm going to send them away, and hopefully we can get this fixed. They went away for a few days. They came back, and I never dealt with them again. I never had to go to the house again. Sadly, I did hear that the elderly lady later passed on a few years later. But to this day, I've never had a call where both people were suffering from the same delusion. And in my opinion, there was something extra sinister involved there that's beyond what medicine or therapy could solve.